We come back to like women's aggressions in society. So Dr. Jordan Peterson, there's a YouTube video
Oh, don't
about
quote
women's
it. No,
aggressions.
no, 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 no. You cannot quote Jordan Peterson on my show. I'm sorry. I mean, it's just that they're on. Flipping heck. No, I'm not having that, Neil. You sounded quite reasonable, but to quote somebody like him, who I find a total misogynist, and it's just ridiculous because women are very frightened at the moment.
Now, breaking right now, Dr. Jordan Peterson has responded to crazy Carol Vorderman's attempt to cancel the great man live on the radio. So let me tell you what happened. Let me set this up and then we'll get reaction from Niall Gardner. So during Carol's hard left LBC radio show, by the way, these days I call LBC the Labour Broadcasting Company because it is so far to the left. A man calls up, makes some absolutely reasonable points about why there is now a war on men in the UK, and he happens to quote Jordan Peterson. At that point, Vorderman loses her very, 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 very tiny mind. Watch.
I've been through the family court and been denied access to my son from the mother's allegations. And to come back to the point about should rights automatically be denied, I think no, given the current state of the family court system.
Yeah.
I think that the family court system is actually anti-men. The whole problem is that there's a contempt of men in society. And we keep hearing, like at government level, that
I would strongly disagree with you on that, Neil. As a woman,
well, if we come back to like women's aggressions in society, so Dr. Jordan Peterson, there's a YouTube video
don't
about
quote
women's
it.
aggressions.
No. You cannot quote Jordan Peterson on my show. I'm sorry. I mean, it's just that they're on. Flipping heck. No, I'm not having that, Neil. You sounded quite reasonable, but to quote somebody like him, who I find a total misogynist, and it's just ridiculous because women are very frightened at the moment.
I've been through the.
No. Vorderman, you are completely ridiculous. Dr. Jordan Peterson has just responded in a post on X, writing, "Mean girl hijinks. The fact that I don't care at all for noisy, deluded, self-righteous, casual, cancel culture feminists doesn't make me a misogynist, Ms. Vorderman." Niall Gardner, whoa. Her brain is so small that literally the mention of the word Jordan Peterson leads to instant cancellation. And that's what we're dealing with in the mainstream media here in the UK, Niall.
Yeah, I think this interview clip that you showed, Dan, is a further illustration of just how, intellectually bankrupt a lot of the mainstream media are today. When they cancel. They cancelled a caller who quotes Jordan Peterson, and they seem to be afraid of competing ideas. There's zero tolerance, of course, displayed for conservative viewpoints. Jordan Peterson, who I've heard speak on a number of occasions, is an extremely smart fellow. He's very well argued, very, very reasonable in his arguments, and a highly intelligent figure. And then you, of course, have Carol Vorderman, who will not even allow the name of Jordan Peterson to be uttered on the radio. And it's truly Orwellian, isn't it? I mean, the left are so afraid of competing ideas and opposing viewpoints that you can't even mention Jordan Peterson's name on this particular LBC show, because the left are afraid to debate ideas, of course, and of course. They have lost the war of ideas, and therefore they try to cancel figures like Jordan Peterson, and this is a classic example of this. And that's a stunning clip that you demonstrated, but it's illustration of just how far the mainstream media have fallen. And Jordan Peterson is a brilliant guy, brilliant fellow, one of the brightest minds of this generation, and his views deserve to be heard. So I'm glad he responded to this outrageous attack on him.
Indeed, it's hatred and it's demonization. But the thing is, Niall, Vorderman has made herself look absolutely ridiculous because she claimed that slippery Starmer, two-tier care, whatever you want to call him, in number 10 Downing Street was going to usher in, Niall, some sort of utopia. The corruption was going to end. Watch this from election night.
And everybody out there is thinking, no more of this, no more of the lies, of the deceit, of the corruption, of the...
Now, of course, Niall, that's exactly what we've had. Everything that we've seen from the first weeks of this Labour government is about cronyism, is about corruption, is about personal wealth. I mean, the fact that now Keir Starmer believes, by the way, Keir Starmer worth £10 million, believes that his wife should be funded to the tune of tens of thousands of pounds, and she is flaunting that new designer gear at a fashion show this morning. Does it not just show, Niall, they're all laughing at us? And actually, we should be laughing at Carol Vorderman because folk like you and folk like me warned what would happen when Labour got in.
Yeah, exactly, Dan. And we warned that Labour would be a complete and utter disaster, and they have been a complete and utter disaster in government. And useful idiots like Carol Vorderman, for example, who have defended the Labour government countlessly, of course, before they were in power, defending Labour as the so-called saviours of the British people. Now they're in power, they have buyer's regret with regard to Labour. And this government is absolutely ghastly, so ghastly that even figures like Carol Vorderman, I think, are increasingly embarrassed by them. And it demonstrates, just how completely morally bankrupt this Labour government is when even figures like Carol Vorderman are embarrassed, with regard to their actions, actually. So a real case of buyer's regret. And this Labour government, as you pointed out, Dan, really corrupt, far left wing. They've been putting people in jail for their Twitter posts. Really woke totalitarianism, I think, is what Labour represents in every respect, with a lot of corruption as well, hatred of Israel, tolerance of Islamist extremism, you name it. I mean, this government does it, right? And I do think this is the most revolting government in British history. It's hard to see how they survive, frankly, for five years. Hopefully, the British people are gonna turf them out of the next election. But they have been catastrophically bad in every single respect. This is what happens when you put the far left in power. They destroy the country.
Yes. And of course, Niall, I think it is worth pointing out that it was all of these far left mates of Vorderman. So Emily Maitlis, John Sopel, Narinder Kaur, who were all defending Hugh Edwards. Do you remember that? And today, Hugh Edwards avoids jail, unfortunately, in a really shocking case of two-chair justice. But I think we just have to remember that it was the left who was defending this guy.
Yeah, absolutely shocking, actually. And I mean, a shocking legal decision that was given. This man should be serving many years in jail, and it's outrageous. All the people who were defending him, because of course he represented the BBC establishment, and so you had the left-wing establishment rallying around him, and it's absolutely outrageous how the establishment initially defended and supported this individual after his in the wake of absolutely horrific crimes here, and it does demonstrate as well that the double standard of the British legal system at this time, when you have people being thrown into jail for their tweets expressing opinions. This is the reality of Britain today under Keir Starmer's Orwellian two-tier government. Actually, it's an absolute disgrace.
Yep. Totally correct. But first, it's the best time of year because football's back. We're talking Premier League in the UK and in the US, NFL Sundays and college football Saturdays. With that comes the glorious grind of fantasy football lineups, which is where your inner manager comes alive, setting the perfect fantasy roster, screaming at your TV, making last-minute waiver moves that either make you a hero or the person that everyone ridicules in the group chat, which is always me. But listen, while you're over here making sure your fantasy team is dialed in, don't let your personal grooming become the guy that gets left on the bench, because let's be honest, no one wants to fumble their grooming routine. That's where Manscaped's Performance Package 5.0 Ultra comes in, acting as your all-in-one grooming playbook. From keeping things sharp down below with the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra to taking care of those rogue ear and nose hairs with the Weed Whacker 2.0, this is the lineup that'll keep you looking and feeling like a champ on and off the field. It will help you feel clean, confident, and ready to dominate your fantasy league. The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra Groin and Body Hair Trimmer is the franchise player of your grooming roster with precise trimming capabilities. It's reliable, efficient, and gets the job done without fumbling. Whether it's for date night, a weekend tailgate, or just everyday grooming, this is the tool you want on your squad. No one wants a surprise ear or nose hair making a guest appearance on game day, so the Weed Whacker 2.0, I love the name of that, handles these details like a pro, keeping you neat and ready to go. No missed tackles in your grooming game. The Performance Package 5.0 Ultra doesn't stop at grooming essentials. It also comes with 2 free gifts today: the Boxers 2.0 Midnight Bravo and the Shed 2.0 Toiletry Bag, premium gear to ensure you're always ready for action, whether at home or on the road. So join the over 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for kickoff by heading over to www.manscaped.com. Use the code Outspoken today for 20% off and free shipping. Trust me, you'll be drafting the real MVP of grooming this season. So let me just repeat, 20% off and free shipping with the code Outspoken at checkout. All you need to do is head to www.manscaped.com. Stay on top of your grooming game and be ready for anything the season throws your way. Delighted to be joined stateside by the foreign policy analyst, former aide to Margaret Thatcher and contributor to the Daily Telegraph, Niall Gardner, on what has been a horrendous 24 hours where Donald Trump was the subject of a second assassination attempt, and yet again, he was let down by the Secret Service. Watch.
Golf course is surrounded by shrubbery, so when somebody gets into the shrubbery, they're pretty much out of sight. All right, and at this level that he is at right now, he's not the sitting president. If he was, we would have had this entire golf course around it. Well, because he's not, the security is limited to the areas that the Secret Service deems possible. So I would imagine that the next time he comes to the golf course, there'll probably be a little bit more people around the...
Now, Ryan Ruth is the man arrested. You won't be surprised to know he's a hard left, Bernie Sanders supporter, doing all of this mad work trying to recruit people to go and fight in Ukraine. Watch this.
From the U.S., from North Carolina originally, so live in Hawaii now, so flew all the way from Hawaii here. So the question as far as why I'm here, to me, you know, a lot of the other conflicts are gray, but this conflict is definitely black and white. This is about good versus evil.
But once again, the big tech companies desperately trying to make sure we don't know about the politics of Ryan Ruth. Look at what happened. Literally live on Facebook, you'll see someone had found Ryan Roth's page and then it was deleted. There we go. You see, you've got it up and then boom, gone. Now, lots of very serious-minded folk had been predicting that there would be a second assassination attempt on Trump. Here is Dan Bongino, top Rumble broadcaster, but also a former Secret Service bloke, at a Heritage Foundation event.
Bongino, in your opinion, is the Secret Service in a better spot today with Director Rowe in charge?
No, it's worse. And sadly, I'm glad this is all being recorded, because when something else happens, and I hope it doesn't, I pray to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, that I'm wrong. That you play this and go, look, that guy was crazy. You think this is the last incident, you're out of your mind. We have seen these incidents over and over. We saw the Georgia grenade incident with President Bush. They overtook the magnetometers. The Secret Service leadership in charge now with the exact same people Exact same. Can you imagine a C-suite at a company that makes widgets? We find out that there's a design defect. The widget explodes and kills 10 people, and the CTO gets a promotion to CEO. You understand that's what happened here, correct? These are the same people. Kim Cheadle, the director, wasn't even fired. She was allowed to resign. She'll go get some cushy job somewhere, and her deputy, who is one of the guys behind these stupid waste of time things like agents wearing red ties on the detail. Because this actually happened, by the way. These people will tell you this under oath if you get the right people. He was concerned about the tie color of the agents on the detail because it seemed to imply he supported President Trump. Congressman Biggs wearing a red tie. You're wearing a semi-red tie. It has nothing to do with anything. This is the kind of stuff the Secret Service was actually wasting their time with while withholding CSU counter surveillance assets and counter sniper assets from probably the most threatened man on earth. If you can explain it, good luck, because that's not the agency I worked for.
Bongino, and
Niall Gardner from the aforementioned Heritage Foundation joins me now from Washington, D.C. So, Niall, there was Dan Bongino, great to have you, by the way, but there was Dan Bongino predicting a second attempt. We saw it yesterday, and the Secret Service seemingly just accepting that because Trump isn't the sitting president, there cannot be the adequate protection. Well, you can understand, Niall, why folk like me are starting to believe that this is increasingly looking like an inside job. They want Donald Trump dead. Am I crazy?
Well, Dan, thanks very much for having me on the show today. And as you point out, I mean, the situation in the United States right now is absolutely extraordinary, and the degree of hate that's out there that has translated itself now into two assassination attempts against President Trump. The degree of hate is just absolutely outrageous, unprecedented, and this should not be in any way normalized. And I'm struck by how the liberal media in the United States is sort of accepting this as some sort of norm, underplaying what has happened. This is the second attempt on Donald Trump's life in the last few weeks, and it's an incredibly dangerous situation that we have here in the US at this moment. And you also have some people on the left who are trying to minimize what is happening here. And this, of course, is a direct threat to democracy, to the rule of law, to everything America stands for. And we do have some individuals on the left who are sort of downplaying what's happening as though this isn't significant. And it's very, very sad to see this kind of response in some parts of the US media to what is happening here.
Well, actually, Niall, I've got
yes.
an example of that, which I want to show you, and I'll get you to react off the back. But this is the hard left MSNBC in the moments after the second assassination attempt, unbelievably trying to blame Trump. Watch this.
Supporters and say, let's take this down. We do not know, again, the source of any gunshot or gunshots. We don't know who's responsible for this. The whole thing has yet to be 100% confirmed from start to finish how this all played out. But do you expect to hear anything from the Trump campaign about toning down the rhetoric, toning down the violence, or would that be atypical of the former president?
Well, Alex, remember back to the assassination attempt on President Trump's life and how, there was talk of a new tone, and then the Republican convention was, by Trumpian standards, muted. And it did seem like he was, just trying to take it down a few notches. But then by the end of his convention speech, we were kind of back to where we started. So.
No, it was actually no better here in the UK. Just before I get you to respond, let me show you what happened when Sly News came head to head with Sebastian Gorka, the former Donald Trump advisor, last night.
Don't accept that they are pleased that he is safe?
I reject everything that comes out of their mendacious mouths. They are absolute liars and hacks who hate America and my former boss and anybody who believes in the idea of making America great again. Yes, they are liars.
So you are saying that the President of the United States, Joe Biden, is lying when he says that he's relieved that Donald Trump is safe?
That man doesn't even know what day of the week it is. He's a senile bag of oatmeal.
Well, I think that's a
are you here to give your opinions?
A very base level of accusation against President Trump.
Are you here to give your opinions, or you ask your guest questions? I mean, are you a journalist who wants me to answer questions from a position of having worked in the White House? Or are you here to lecture your audience?
I'm asking questions, but I'm not giving you a platform to insult others who are not here to defend themselves.
Don't invite me on your show. Can you promise me that?
Sebastian Gorka, thank you very much for speaking to us.
Now, of course, Niall, I should point out Sly News and MSDNC, as Trump calls it, both owned by Concast, as Trump calls it. So I guess they're singing from the same hymn sheet, but just an unbelievable response.
Yeah, I think, it's striking the lack of empathy that's out there from large chunks of the so-called sort of mainstream media on both sides of the Atlantic. This was a second assassination attempt here, and this is also an attack upon American democracy itself. But you listen to these liberal commentators, and they're barely taking this seriously, and they really do not express any kind of sympathy whatsoever for President Trump here. He's the victim of these assassination attempts, and yet the left trying to seemingly blame Donald Trump for attempts to take away his life. And this is a real sickness, I think, that is the heart of a lot of the media coverage right now of Donald Trump, actually. Vindictiveness, hate, and a clear lack of empathy, sympathy for a fellow human being. We're seeing that from sections of the U.S. and also British media as well. It's very sad to see. It's a damning indictment, I think, of the state of media today, Dan.
It really is. It really is. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please do subscribe if you want lots more clips and interviews like that. Plus, if you want to watch our totally uncensored after show, then visit www.outspoken.live.